It's Flashcards Friday, and this podcast is a follow-up to Tuesday's episode about Benjamin Banneker. This brilliant individual was predominantly self-taught, and I found his story very inspiring because he learned everything he knew about astronomy and surveying without being in a classroom. But before I continue, a quick word from my advertisers. Today, when people say they are self-taught, that means so much more than solo learning. It means they took it upon themselves to learn something very valuable for their skill set, for their interests, and for what inspires them to start their day. With that said, self-taught is a capability you build. It's the ability to teach yourself something new, keep going without external structure, and become the kind of person who can adapt when the world changes. I think this is why Benjamin Banneker lands so well with today's listeners. In addition to it being Black History Month, it's a fantastic story about a self-motivated individual. He's often described as self-educated, and whether you're taking Coursera courses, MOOCs, or stacking certificates on LinkedIn, you too are doing a modern version of the same thing. You are training the skill of learning itself. So this episode is about what self-teaching does for you beyond the facts that you memorize. It builds self-reliance, it supports brain health across your lifespan, and it can even make you a better communicator. So first, self-teaching is not only knowledge acquisition, it's self-management under uncertainty. If you ever are uncertain, self-teaching becomes self-management. When you learn on your own, you practice decisions that a traditional classroom often makes for you. You choose the target instead of being assigned one. You decide what matters and what is noise. You figure out what done looks like. You troubleshoot your own confusion without panicking. This is the backbone of self-reliance. And the reason it matters is transfer. Once you train that muscle, it shows up everywhere. Learning a new tool at work, switching industries, preparing for interviews, starting a side project, or simply staying calm when you hit something unfamiliar. Self-teaching turns, I don't know this, into, I don't know this yet, and I have a process. Second, your brain benefits because it stays changeable. Here's the encouraging neuroscience framing. Your brain stays capable of adapting across the lifespan. A major review on neuroplasticity described plasticity as a set of phenomena, some of which operate across most or all of life, not only in childhood. So when you learn something new, especially something that forces attention, memory, and correction, you are not merely staying busy. You are giving your brain a reason to strengthen and reorganize networks. And this matters psychologically too. Learning teaches a quiet emotional lesson alongside the cognitive one, which is, I can enter the unfamiliar and stay steady. That skill is valuable in literally every decade of adulthood. Third, learning supports healthier aging by building cognitive reserve. So the aging piece. This is where self-teaching becomes more than a hobby. There's a well-known idea called cognitive reserve. In plain language, it's the brain's ability to use networks flexibility and efficiently so you can continue performing cognitive tasks even as the brain changes with age. The Alzheimer's Association describes cognitive reserve as something you build over your lifetime and emphasizes staying mentally active by learning new things. And this isn't just theoretical. A 2025 longitudinal study in innovation and aging reported that later life learning was associated with better cognitive function over time. Now, note, this is not a guarantee. It's not medical advice. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a psychologist, so I'm just saying what I'm learning here. It's a realistic, evidence-aligned encouragement. Continued learning is one of the more accessible ways to keep the brain engaged, challenged, and flexible. Okay, fourth, certificates. Yes, certificates help because they make learning visible. I'm going to get concrete about the career angle you want. LinkedIn certificates. A certificate highlights new skills. It can signal that you are not stuck in your ways and that you are willing to learn new skills. No matter how far up the chain you are, learning new skills always benefits your career. And what's cool is that LinkedIn provides a built-in feature for adding LinkedIn learning certificates of completion to your profile, including an add to profile option from your learning history. But here's the difference maker. Don't just post the certificate alone. Pair it with one sentence that translates it into value. For example, you can say something like, "This course improved how I explain technical ideas to non-experts," or "This certificate strengthened my ability to analyze data and present conclusions clearly," or "This learning path helped me manage projects with clearer scope and timelines." There's so many different ways you can highlight your new certificate. And the certificate is the receipt. Your sentence is the story. Okay, 5, self-teaching can make you a better communicator. And this one really surprises people, but it's reliable. Learning improves communication because learning forces clarity. Every new topic makes you rehearse the same communication moves: defining the terms, putting the steps in order, summarizing without jargon, asking better questions, and noticing what you misunderstood and fixing it. That is communication training. Career guidance sources consistently frame communication as a set of learnable skills, such as active listening, clear structure, and responsive questioning. Indeed, for example, highlights active listening as a critical communication skill and connects it to problem solving and understanding. So if you notice that you speak more clearly after doing a run of online courses, that's not accidental. Learning gives you practice turning messy information into precise sequences. That is exactly what good communicators do. 6, the identity shift. It says, "I am someone who keeps learning." And here's the part that ties it together. Self-teaching changes your identity in a subtle and powerful way. You stop seeing learning as something that happens only under institutional permission. You start seeing it as something you can generate. That identity is protective. It makes your future less fragile. If your industry changes, you can reskill. If your job shifts, you can keep up. If your life gets weird, you can stay flexible. And that is a success strategy, not a personality preference. Okay, number 7, the courage shift. It's when you decide that you can learn what is uncomfortable. It's an upgrade that makes self-teaching more than a career move. When you teach yourself, you don't only learn what's trendy or convenient. You can also choose the topics that deepen your judgment, even when they stretch your comfort zone. That includes understanding the history of slavery and the ways it shaped American systems, not as a side note, but as a structure. That kind of learning strengthens the same self-reliance skill that you use everywhere else. If you can stay with difficult material, you can stay with complex problems. If you can build context, you can make better decisions. And if you can discuss complex history with clarity, you can become a better communicator. And you can develop empathy. And you don't have to start with a mountain. You can begin with one serious book or one long-form article. For example, Edward E. Baptiste's The Half Has Never Been Told and Sven Beckert's Empire of Cotton connect slavery to the growth of American capitalism. Ira Berlin's Many Thousands Gone show how slavery changed across regions and generations. And Ta-Nehisi Coates' The Case for Reparations connects historical policy to modern outcomes. That's the link. Self-teaching builds the ability to learn what matters, not just what's easy. And self-teaching can build empathy and understanding. Okay, now I'm going to do a total 180. Weird learning also counts. Sometimes you learn for a job. Sometimes you learn for health. Sometimes you learn because curiosity makes life brighter. So, with that being said, you can learn Klingon on Duolingo, and the Klingon Language Institute exists. It takes Klingon seriously, and it even offers community resources around the language. Do you need Klingon for your resume? Probably not. But joy learning still does honest work. It keeps novelty alive. It rewards persistence. It reminds your brain that newness is not a threat. Learning something new and unique is a playground. And honestly, learning something delightfully strange is sometimes the easiest way to keep the habit alive, which then supports everything else you're trying to do. And honestly, in my opinion, speaking Klingon at a party is definitely a cool parlor trick. So I'm going to end with 5 flashcards this week, one for each day that you can carry into the work week. 1, being self-taught is a capability, not a label. It builds self-reliance that you can reuse in every area of life. 2, learning supports brain health across the lifespan. Neuroplasticity persists and continued education is associated with better cognitive outcomes over time. 3, self-learning can be visible and meaningful. Certificates help when you pair them with a clear sentence about what you can now do. And it's tangible proof that you are not going to rely on your old skill sets. 4, self-education can make you a better communicator and teach you empathy. And 5, self-learning can give you fun things to do to impress others, like riding a unicycle or speaking Klingon. And if you need a final nudge, it is completely acceptable to learn something practical, something ambitious, and something ridiculous all in the same month. The habit is the win. Thank you for listening to Flashcards Fridays at Math, Science, History. And until next time, Carpe Diem.